What is going on, YouTubers? Welcome to another video. So if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you guys are looking to buy statues, please use the links below. It does help the channel. So today I wanted to talk about some of my regrets in the statue purchasing world and just, getting into collecting. Every collector has their regrets, hence why they sell stuff, because they regretted buying it or they changed directions or whatever. There's always, in essence, regrets. And I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of statues. I believe I calculated I sold over 70,000 worth last year alone. And I've sold a ton this year as well. I don't know if next year I'll sell a ton. Unfortunately, I'm not a fortune teller, but I've sold a lot over the years. And it's simply due to direction changes, things I regretted buying, and whatnot. And so I wanted to go over some of that. So hopefully maybe this can help you guys in, preventing those regrets. So to begin with, one thing I definitely regret is when I first got into collecting, I collected way too quickly and I was just buying everything. And I think this happens with a lot of collectors. They just got into collecting. It's very exciting. You're seeing these amazing statues in person and your mind is simply blown. And so you just start buying everything. You're out of control. And I was definitely that. I was buying every single Dragon Ball Z statue, even the ugliest garbage fuck statues I've ever seen. I was still buying them. I was buying really just ugly statues right and left. These weird Kratos garage kit statues and just tons of stuff. And I was just buying any and everything I could. And I instantly was having a very cluttered collection. So that's the first thing, is don't immediately buy everything. You need to have a goal in mind, a direction. You want your displays to look nice. You don't want to, yeah, I could technically fit a statue right there, but then it wouldn't make the display look as good. So I'm choosing a cleaner looking display versus having as many statues crammed as possible into a display. So that is my first piece. The second is my display choice. Now, there's a lot of display choices out there. When I first got into collecting, the most popular, the most recommended was IKEA Detolfs and IKEA Bestas, Stuvas, and Pax units. And so I went full on board stupid and bought them all. Spent thousands of dollars on them. And, I regret that so bad. Because eventually, obviously I changed my entire man cave to garage shelving. And garage shelving wasn't popular at the time. It only became popular due to kind of one collector, one of my old friends. I'm not going to say his name, but he started doing garage shelves, and then everyone started copying him and, reinventing the wheel. And, now most collectors are doing it. But there's just a huge advantage to a garage shelf. One, it's cheap. It's much cheaper than IKEA. You can get this for generally about, I don't know prices right now, but I was spending like 60 to 70 bucks just to get these two displays. So, IKEA, if I wanted to get a bunch of Stuvas, they were like $100 each, and I'd need like 4 or 5 of them here. I spent like $500 just to fill up this, where garage shelf is just like 60, 70 bucks. Plus, this holds 800 pounds per shelf, where Detolfs and Bestas, Pax units, they're not nearly able to hold as much weight. They're very heavy shelves, and they're very enclosed. You can only see from one angle, where this is very open, and you can see from multiple angles. So I love this open feel. I love the deeper shelves being 24 inches, and it's customizable. You can change the height level. There's just, such a bigger advantage to this. Now, if you're wealthy, you can do the whole custom shelving, which is, the best option, of course. However, I don't have, an extra money to throw aside for that. The only way I could is if I had less statues and spent that on custom shelving. Maybe if I ever get a next home, then I would consider custom shelving. But For this home and for my collection, garage shelving is what I'm choosing. So that is definitely my second biggest regret is going crazy on shelving and then having to sell them. And when I sold them, I had to sell them dirt cheap. Like I'm trying to sell a Detolf now for 20 bucks, no buyers. They cost over 100 plus now at IKEA, but I still can't even sell for 20 bucks. So shelving has horrible resale value and it's such a pain in the butt. So that was definitely a huge regret of mine. Is I wish I would have started with garage shelves to begin with. My third regret is getting into too many lines. Like most collectors out there don't get into as many lines as me. There's only a few I know of, but I basically bought everything. I started out originally with Mortal Kombat and Dragon Ball Z, and frankly, I should have just stuck with that. I should have never branched out. If anything, maybe just video games, like stuck to just what's in this room. I think I should have originally just done that and never got into movie, never got into Transformers, never got into Marvel or DC. This is my original reason I got into collecting was because of that Goro. And then getting into Dragon Ball Z statues, because those were two of my greatest loves, and then, of course, video games. So if I could go back and prevent myself from ever buying movie statues and just told myself, just stick to this, imagine how good, my man cave would look if I could have everything completely spaced out, no bottom shelf, like everything just top shelf. If anything, this bottom, I could just put like curtains and extra statue parts or boxes. I mean, heck, it would look good even with just the boxes. But my entire man cave would just be video games and Dragon Ball Z. But I still would not want the, buying every Dragon Ball Z and video game statue. But if I could go back, I probably would have just stuck to those two lines, never branched out. I would suggest the same. Only collect two lines, no more. Once you get into, let's think how many lines I have. Jupiter's cock. We got video game, DBZ, Monsterverse, Lord of the Rings, Transformers, Jurassic Park, Horror and Monsters, Marvel, DC. I have like 10 lines. That's way too many. And so when you do stick to like one or two lines, ideally at least two, I would say, it makes collecting, I would say, less stressful, easier to, avoid buying things. Because right now, because I do collect 10 lines, there's a lot more statue choices. So I have to have a lot more pre-orders because I want to, get every Prime One Lord of the Rings line. I want to get the best Transformer statues, the best Marvel and DC. Where if I wasn't collecting those lines, then anytime they show a statue, like, yeah, it's super cool, but I'm not buying it. I don't collect Marvel and DC. You know what I mean? Like, I don't collect comic book stuff anymore. Although Vampirella might be an exception. But like Marvel and DC comic, no interest. So anytime they show off something like that new legendary Hulk 1/3 that everyone is just, loving, for me, I don't give a crap about that. I'm like, yeah, it's cool looking, but zero interest. I don't collect that. So that is a huge advantage of when you only collect 1 to 2 lines. It just obviously is going to save you money, going to save you space, going to make it less stressful. So if I could go back, I would have just stuck to video games and DBZ. Even though at the end of the day, like I said, my monster and horror is my favorite in my collection. But if I could go back, I would have stuck to video games and DBZ only. Just because that is the original reason I got into collecting. So I would have just stuck with that. And I probably would have a more extensive DBZ collection. Probably never would have sold my 1/6 if that was the only thing I collected was DBZ. Like this room would be DBZ only. And then I'd have a video game room. And then a Mortal Kombat room, for example. So yeah, that's what I would have done. So if you're in collecting now and you're buying everything, if you can, stop. Or if you're getting into collecting and you found my channel somehow, trust me, only take on no more than 2 lines. It gets way too stressful, too many options. You're going to be super overwhelmed. It's going to cost you a lot of money. Now, granted, if you have the money, if you're making $500K a year, you have unlimited space, then by all means, collect 10 lines. But, I definitely overwhelmed myself, spent way too much money. And if I could go back and do it, I definitely would. Unfortunately, I can't go back in time. And at this point, I've always thought of mass selling off and reducing my collection. However, I'm so deep in and I love my collection so much because I've seen them in person that it's extremely difficult for me to think, yeah, I'll sell my entire Jurassic Park line. I freaking love that line. And I love my Transformers, I love my Lord of the Rings. So it's so difficult for me to think about selling it. Or right now I'm at that mindset where I just want to like finish it. I want to get those final Lord of the Ring pieces I want, finish my Monsterverse, get my 2 final Transformers, call it a day. That's the point I'm at, is I would want to finish it. So yeah, that's definitely a big thing I would highly suggest. And the last thing I will say about, like regrets is don't go into debt for statues. I have made that mistake and I do not recommend it. This is a hobby. It should be just the extra cash, and you should never go into debt for statues. So, I don't think it's a bad idea to, throw a statue on a credit card and then you pay it off next paycheck or whatever. If you're able to pay it off very quickly, but don't put yourself into, debt for statues. Unfortunately, I did, and I'm still paying some of that. So I highly recommend, don't do that. You don't want to go into debt for these things because, yes, statues you can always sell and for the most part get the majority of your money back, but it's been getting more difficult. Like I listed that Lord of Darkness for what I thought was a reasonable price, 0 interested buyers. And I'm like, for me personally, I'm not going to lower the price below 2K because that's what he's worth to me. So if no one wants him, I'm going to keep him because I still really like him and I honestly don't want to sell him at all. But I know for a fact if I tried to sell the majority of these video game statues outside The Witcher, I would lose money on every one of these. Granted, I never plan to sell these. Like I would, I will never sell that. But I know the majority of these I will lose money. So statues are getting to the point where you're not going to be able to make your money back on a lot of these. I would say 98% of statues right now, you're going to lose money. Only a few you're going to be able to get your money back or make a profit. So, and I think that's, really just due to the economy. Less people are spending money. So this may improve in the future. Right now, it's just not a good time to be selling statues. Very few statues are selling for, over retail or even just at retail, because look at Sideshow doing 13% off all in stock items right now, and I'm seeing statues I paid full price for selling for hundreds, like $400 cheaper than I paid. I'm like, oh my gosh. It makes me think, yeah, definitely shouldn't have PO'd that. And I'm actually I'm definitely going to be canceling Kong Bust is the moment I get that notice, because I know shipping cost is going to increase, so I'll be able to cancel, get my NRD back. So I'm going to cancel and then wait for a sale, like a big sale. I may have to wait a year, but I'm going to save probably $1,000+. So I'm definitely going to cancel that, considering Godzilla Bus is selling way cheaper than retail. So yeah, definitely going to cancel that PO. So anyways, folks, that is it for some of my advice. I've been doing this for 7+ years now. So I think I do have some decent knowledge on it, but take it for what it's worth. If you're getting into the hobby now, bad timing. But, welcome to the addiction. This is a niche community. Not a lot of people know about it. It's definitely a wonderful hobby, but it's very expensive and can at times be very stressful. But also every day you get to enjoy this amazing art. That is it. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day.